Hey, history lovers, have you ever wondered what it truly felt like to wake beneath a linen roof? To share bread with your neighbors? To shape clay with your hands? Or to trust your hopes to the slow, patient river? In this story, you'll see why, for all our modern cleverness, most of us wouldn't last a single day in their world. Tell me, what time is it? And where in the world are you listening from? It's always a wonder to see people from every corner of America, Europe, Asia gathering, here, sharing this gentle moment together. So let's begin our journey together into the soft, forgotten corners of ancient Egypt. Let us begin, not with a rush, but with a gentle exhale, as if the world itself is settling down for the night, and the ancient Nile is whispering its secrets to the stars above. Imagine, if you will, a world where the air is thick with the scent of wet earth and lotus, where the sun rises not with a shout, but with a slow, golden yawn, stretching its fingers across a land that has known the footsteps of countless generations. This is Egypt, not the Egypt of pharaohs and pyramids alone, but the Egypt of everyday life, of quiet mornings and long, drowsy afternoons, of laughter echoing through mud-brick courtyards, and the soft hush of linen against skin. Tonight, we will wander together through this world, not as conquerors or scholars, but as gentle guests, peering through the veil of time. And as we do, you may find yourself wondering, as so many have before, why you, with all your modern comforts and cleverness, might not last a single day in this ancient, sun-baked land. But do not worry, for here, in the hush of night, we are safe, and the past is as soft as a lullaby. Let us begin, then, with the river, for in Egypt, all life begins and ends with the Nile. The Nile is not just a river. It is a living, breathing presence, a god in its own right. It is the mother of all things, the giver of life, the gentle hand that cradles the land each year. As the days grow long and the air grows heavy, the Nile swells with the rains that fall far to the south, in lands most Egyptians will never see. The river rises, slow and patient, spilling over its banks, flooding the fields, leaving behind a rich, black silt that is the very soul of Egypt. Without this flood, there is no bread, no beer, no life. The people wait for it, year after year, with a mixture of hope and fear. Too little water, and the crops will wither too much, and the villages will drown. But when the balance is just right, the land awakens. Fields of barley and emmer wheat sway in the breeze. Papyrus grows thick along the banks, and the people give thanks in quiet prayers and small offerings, a loaf of bread, a handful of dates, a cup of cool water poured out for the river god. It is a rhythm as old as memory, a song sung by countless voices, now lost to the wind. If you were to wake in an ancient Egyptian village, the first thing you would notice is the light. It is not the harsh electric glare of modern life. It is a soft, golden glow, filtering through reed mats and linen curtains. The air is cool for now, but the promise of heat lies just beyond the horizon. You would rise with the sun, as all do, for there is no time to waste. The day is short and the work is long. There are no clocks, no alarms, only the slow turning of the sky. You would wash your face in a basin of water, cool and sweet. Perhaps you would say a quiet prayer, not out of fear, but out of habit. For in this world, the gods are everywhere. In the river, in the fields, in the very dust beneath your feet. They are not distant, but close as your own breath. Breakfast is simple, but satisfying. A flat loaf of bread, still warm from the oven. A handful of figs or dates. A cup of beer, thick and nourishing. This is not the beer you know. It is more like a porridge, rich with grain and sweet with honey. It fills the belly and gives strength for the day ahead. You eat with your fingers, tearing the bread, dipping it in honey or oil. There are no forks, no knives, only the simple tools of hand and heart. The taste is earthy. Honest, it is the taste. Of the land itself, as you step outside, the world greets you with a chorus of sounds. The lowing of cattle, the bray of donkeys, the laughter of children chasing each other through the dust. The village is alive. Women carry jars of water on their heads, moving with a grace born of long practice. Men gather in the fields, their backs bent to the work. Children help where they can, or play in the shade of the sycamore trees. There is a sense of order here, a quiet rhythm. Everyone knows their place, their task. There is little room for idleness. Life is not easy, but it is full. Each day is a gift. To be used well, you might think at first that you could manage this. Life, after all, what is a little hard work, a little heat? But soon you would feel the weight of it. The sun climbs higher. The air grows thick. Sweat beads on your brow. Your muscles ache from tasks you have never known. Grinding grain by hand, hauling water from the river, weaving reeds into baskets. There is no rest, not until the work is done. And the work is never truly done. Yet there is a kind of peace in this, a sense of belonging, of being part of something larger than yourself. The land, the river, the people, all bound together in a web of life. As the day wears on, the village settles into its own quiet rhythm. The heat drives people indoors, into the cool shade of their homes. The houses are simple, made of mud brick, cool in summer, warm in winter. The walls are thick, the windows small. Inside, the air is scented with herbs and incense. A cat dozes in. A patch of sunlight. A child hums a song as she helps her mother grind grain. There is a sense of stillness here. A pause in the day. A moment to breathe, to rest, to remember. In the afternoon, the work resumes. The fields must be tended, the animals fed. The river calls, its waters cool and inviting. Children splash and play, their laughter echoing across the water. Fishermen cast their nets, hoping for a good catch. Women wash clothes on the riverbank, their voices rising in song. It is a scene as old as time, a tapestry of life, woven from 1,000 small moments, each one precious, each one fleeting. As evening falls, the village gathers. Families share a meal, simple but hearty. Lentil stew, bread, perhaps a little fish or cheese. The air is filled with the scent of roasting onions and garlic. The sky turns from gold to deep indigo. Stars appear one by one. The world grows quiet. A hush falls over the land. It is a time for stories, for songs, for remembering those who have gone before, and for dreaming of what might yet be. You might think, as you listen to the soft murmur of voices, that you could grow to love this life, and perhaps you could. But there are challenges here, dangers that lurk just beyond the edge of the firelight. The river, so gentle by day, can be treacherous by night. Crocodiles slip silently through the water. Snakes hide in the reeds. Illness comes without warning. A fever, a cough, a pain in the belly. There are remedies, of course, herbs and prayers, charms and amulets. But sometimes the gods are silent, and the night is long. Yet, for all its hardships, there is a beauty here, a sense of connection to the land, to the river, to the endless sky. The people of ancient Egypt do not see themselves as separate from the world. They are part of it, bound to it by ties of blood and memory. They honor the past, cherish the present, and look to the future with hope. It is a lesson, perhaps, for all of us, to find beauty in the simple things, to cherish the moments that make up a life, to remember that we, too, are part of the story that began long before we were born, and will continue long after we are gone. As the night deepens, the village sleeps. The only sound is the soft sigh of the river, carrying dreams downstream, to places unknown. And so we leave them, for now, safe in the arms of the Nile. There lives a quiet testament to the enduring power of hope. And as we drift gently into the next chapter, let us remember that in this ancient land, every day is a gift and every night a promise of new beginnings and endless possibilities. As the first light of dawn slips across the Nile, the world stirs once more. The air is cool, almost sweet, carrying the faintest trace of river mist and the distant call of ibis. You might imagine that the people of ancient Egypt would rise slowly, stretching and yawning. But in truth, the day begins with a quiet urgency. There is so much to do, and the sun, though gentle now, will soon become a relentless overseer. The rhythm of life here is set not by clocks, but by the sun's slow climb. And the river's patient flow, it is a rhythm that leaves little room for idleness. And yet, within this steady march, there are moments of softness. A mother braiding her daughter's hair, fingers nimble and gentle. A father teaching his son to shape mud into bricks. A grandmother humming a song older than memory. These are the father, threads that weave the fabric of daily life. And if you listen closely, you can almost hear the heartbeat of a world both distant and familiar. The houses, clustered close together, are built from the very earth itself. Mud brick, sun-baked and sturdy, forms walls that keep out the heat and hold in the cool. Roofs are flat, sometimes shaded with woven mats. Children scamper up ladders to play or to sleep beneath the stars on warm nights. Inside, the rooms are small but filled with life. A low table, a few stools, baskets of grain, a jar of water. On the walls, simple paintings, lotus flowers, birds, the sacred eye reminders of beauty and protection. There is little privacy, but there is much togetherness. Family is everything. 3, sometimes 4 generations under one roof. Each person with a role, a purpose. Even the youngest child is given small tasks: to fetch water, to gather kindling, to shoo away the ever-curious chickens. It is a world where everyone belongs, and yet, for a visitor from another time, the closeness might feel overwhelming. There is no escape from the noise, the laughter, the arguments. No quiet room to retreat to, only the constant hum of life. Clothing, too, is shaped by the land. The heat demands simplicity. Men wear kilts of linen, soft and cool. Women drape themselves in long, flowing dresses. Children often run naked until they are old enough for their first real garment. Linen is precious, spun from flax grown in the fields. It is washed and beaten until it is as soft as a sigh. The wealthy might wear pleated robes, adorned with beads and bright colors. But for most, clothing is plain. A simple tunic, a belt, perhaps a necklace of faience or shell. Shoes are rare. The earth is warm beneath bare feet. And the dust, though ever present, is simply part of life. You might find the feel of linen against your skin comforting at first, but soon, the relentless sun and the ever-present grit would test your patience. There is no escape from the elements, no air conditioning, no cool shower at the end of the day, only the slow, steady work of keeping clean. A basin of water, a scrap of linen, a little scented oil. It is enough? It must be. Food, too, is shaped by the river and the seasons. Bread is the staff of life. Baked in clay ovens, it is dense and hearty, sometimes flavored with herbs or sweetened. With dates, beer is the common drink, thick and nourishing. Water is precious, drawn from the river or from wells. Milk, when it can be spared from the goats or cows, is a treat. Vegetables, onions, leeks, garlic. Lettuce grow in small gardens. Fruits, figs, dates. Pomegranates are gathered when in season. Meat is rare, reserved for festivals or special days. Fish from the Nile is more common, roasted over an open fire, seasoned with salt and herbs. Meals are shared. Always there is no eating alone. Food is passed from hand to hand. A loaf of bread torn and dipped. A bowl of stew shared. It is a ritual of togetherness. A reminder that survival is a communal effort. You might find the flavors strange at first, the bread coarse, the beer sour. But In time, you would come to appreciate the honesty of it, the way each meal is a celebration of the land's generosity and a quiet prayer for its continued kindness. Work is the constant companion of every Egyptian, from the moment the sun rises until it slips behind the western hills. There is always something to be done. The fields must be tended, the animals fed, the house kept in order. Men and women work side by side. Children learn by watching, by doing. There is no school as you know it, but there is much to learn. How to plant and harvest, how to weave and bake, how to read the river's moods and the sky's silent warnings for those who serve in the temples or the palaces. Life is different. Scribes, with their reed pens and pots of ink, record the business of the world. Priests tend to the gods. Artisans shape stone and wood into wonders. But for most, life is measured in handfuls of grain and hours of labor. It is a life of endurance and of quiet pride. For to work is to honor the gods, and to provide for one's family is the highest calling. The sun, as it climbs, becomes a force to be reckoned with. It presses down on the land, relentless and unyielding. Shade is precious. A patch of cool beneath a tree, a breeze that stirs the reeds. You would feel the weight of it, the way it saps your strength, the way it turns the world to gold and shadow. There is no escape, only the slow, patient acceptance of what must be. The people of Egypt do not curse the sun. They honor it, for it is the giver of life. But they know its dangers, and they move with care. Wide-brimmed hats of woven reeds, loose linen, a careful rationing of effort. Rest when you can, work when you must. It is a lesson in humility and in respect for the world's rhythms. In the cool of the evening, the village comes alive once more. The heat fades, the air is filled with the scent of cooking fires and the sound of music, a flute, a drum, the soft clapping of hands. Stories are told of gods and monsters, of heroes and fools, of the great river and the endless sky. Children listen with wide eyes. Elders nod, remembering. There is laughter and sometimes tears. For life is not always kind, but it is always shared. You might find yourself drawn into these gatherings, welcomed as a guest, offered a place by the fire, a cup of beer, a piece of bread. It is a kindness born of necessity. For in this world, no one survives alone, and every stranger is a potential friend. As the stars wheel overhead, the world grows quiet. The river glimmers in the moonlight, a silver thread winding through the darkness. You might lie awake, listening to the sounds of the night, the distant bark of a dog, the soft rustle of palm fronds, the gentle lap of water against the shore. It is a world both ancient and immediate, a world where the past is never far away, and the future is always uncertain. You would feel, perhaps, sense of awe at the vastness of it all, at the smallness of your own place within it. And yet there is comfort in that, a reminder that you are part of something larger, a story that began long before you and will continue long after. In the hush of night, the people of Egypt dream of good harvests, of gentle floods, of children growing strong and old ones passing peacefully. They dream of the gods, of journeys through the underworld, of the promise of rebirth. For in this land, death is not an end, but a doorway, a passage to another world. And so they live with hope, and with courage, and with a quiet, enduring grace. If you were to walk among them, you would see faces lined with sun and laughter, hands calloused from work, eyes bright with curiosity and kindness. You would see a people shaped by their land, and shaping it in return, a people who know the value of water, the taste of bread, the comfort of family, and the power of story. You might find, in time, that you are not so different, that the things that matter most, love, hope, belonging, are the same, no matter the age, no matter the place. And so, as the night deepens and the world grows still, we leave the village once more, carried on the breath of the Nile, into the next chapter of our journey, where new wonders and new challenges await. Let us drift gently into the heart of ancient Egypt, where every day is a lesson and every night a dream. As the gentle hush of night lingers over the Nile, the world of ancient Egypt reveals another layer, a world not just of earth and water, but of spirit and shadow. For here, the unseen is as real as the sunlit fields, and every day is woven through with quiet rituals. Small acts of reverence, soft words spoken to the air, a glance at a charm, a touch of amulet. In this land, the boundary between the seen and the unseen is as thin as a veil of linen, and the people move through it with a grace born of long practice. You might wake in the cool darkness before dawn, the air still, the world hushed, and see a woman at her doorway, sprinkling a few drops of water on the threshold. A simple act, but one filled with meaning. A blessing for the day, a prayer for protection, for in Egypt, every doorway is a passage, not just for people, but for spirits, and it is wise to keep them friendly. You might see a man tie a strip of blue cloth around his arm, a charm against the evil eye, or a child wearing a tiny amulet, shaped like a frog or a scarab, each one a shield, a promise of safety, a whisper to the gods. The gods themselves are everywhere, not distant, not hidden, but present in every stone and reed. There is Ra, the sun god, who sails across the sky each day in his golden boat, and slips into the underworld each night, fighting the serpent of chaos so that dawn may come again. There is Osiris, lord of the afterlife, whose green skin is the color of new growth, and Isis, his wife, whose love is as deep as the river. There is Hathor, the gentle cow goddess, bringer of joy and music, and Thoth, the wise ibis, keeper of knowledge. And the written word. Each god has their own story, their own place in the world, and each is honored in small ways. A flower left at a shrine, a song sung at sunrise, a loaf of bread set aside for the spirits. It is not a matter of fear, but of respect, a recognition that the world is full of mysteries, and that kindness, even to the unseen, is never wasted. You might find, as you move through the day, that every action is touched by ritual. The way bread is broken, the way water is poured, the way a mother kisses her child's forehead before sending them out to play. There are words for every moment, blessings for the living, prayers for the dead, songs for the harvest, laments for the drought. It is a language of the heart, spoken softly, heard by those who know how to listen. In the temples, the rituals are grander. Priests move through shadowed halls, their footsteps echoing on cool stone. They wash their hands, light incense, offer bread and beer to the gods. The air is thick with the scent of myrrh and frankincense. The flicker of oil lamps dances on painted walls. Here, the world feels both ancient and eternal, a place where time moves in circles, and every day is a new beginning. But even outside the temples, in the smallest village, the rituals continue. A mother whispers a prayer as she kneads dough. A farmer thanks the river before casting his net. A child sings to the moon, just because it is beautiful. And because beauty, too, is a kind of offering, you might think at first that all this ritual is a burden, a weight to carry. But in truth, it is a comfort, a way of making sense of a world that is often uncertain, a way of finding meaning in the everyday. For life in Egypt is not easy. The river can be generous, but it can also be cruel. The sun gives life, but it can also take it away. Illness, accident, misfortune, these are never far. And so, the people wrap themselves in ritual, in hope, in the belief that every small act matters, that every kindness is seen, and every prayer is heard. The home itself is a sacred space, not just a shelter, but a place of memory and protection. At the heart of every house is a small shrine, a simple shelf, a painted image, a bowl of water. Here, the family honors their ancestors, those who have gone before. They pour a little beer, light a lamp. Speak the names of the dead, for to remember is to keep alive, and to forget is the greatest loss of all. You might feel, in this quiet corner, a sense of peace, a sense that you are never truly alone, that the past is always with you, watching, guiding, loving. The world outside is full of omens. A bird flying north, a snake crossing the path, the shape of clouds at sunset, each one a message, a sign to be read. The people of Egypt are not superstitious, not in the way you might think. They are attentive, careful. They know that the world speaks in many voices, and that wisdom lies in listening. A wise woman might read the future in a handful of sand. A priest might interpret dreams. A child might see a god in the shape of a cloud. It is a world alive with meaning, a world where nothing is ever just what it seems. You might find, as you walk through the fields, that the land itself feels alive. The reeds whisper in the wind. The river sings its slow, endless song. The earth is warm beneath your feet, and the sky is so wide, so full of promise. It is easy to believe here that the world is a living thing, that every stone, every tree, every drop of water has its own spirit, its own story, and that you are part of that story, a guest, a participant. Witness, in the quiet of the evening, as the sun slips behind the hills, the world grows soft, the colors deepen, the air cools, families gather at their doorways, sharing stories, remembering the day. There is laughter, and sometimes tears, but always there is a sense of belonging, a sense that no matter what the day has brought, they have faced it together, and that tomorrow is another chance, another beginning. You might find in these moments a kind of magic, not the magic of spells and sorcery, but the magic of connection, of being seen, of being known, of being part of something larger than yourself. It is a feeling that lingers, long after the stories are told, long after the lamps are extinguished, long after the world has fallen silent. As the stars appear, one by one, the people of Egypt look to the sky. They know the constellations, the slow turning of the heavens. They mark the seasons by the rising of Sirius, the star that heralds the flood. They read the future in the dance of the planets, and find comfort in the order of the cosmos. For in a world that is often uncertain, the stars are a promise, a reminder that some things endure, that some things are eternal. And so, as the night deepens and the world grows still, we leave the village, once more, carried on the breath of the Nile, into the next chapter of our journey, where the mysteries of life and death, of love and loss, of hope and memory, await us. As the first blush of dawn colors the sky, the village stirs with the laughter of children. Their voices rise like birdsong, bright and clear. For in ancient Egypt, childhood is a time of freedom and discovery, a time when the world is new and every day is an adventure. Yet it is also a time shaped by the rhythms of the land, by the gentle guidance of elders, and by the quiet expectations that every child will one day take their place in the great tapestry of life. You might see a group of children racing along the riverbank, their feet kicking up clouds of dust, their laughter echoing across the water. They play with simple toys balls made of leather, dolls shaped from clay, a hoop rolled with a stick, game of catch with pebbles or seeds. There are no screens, no flashing lights, only the endless possibilities of imagination. A reed becomes a sword, a handful of mud, a palace, a patch of shade beneath a sycamore, a secret kingdom. The world is wide, and every corner holds a new wonder. Yet, even in play, there are lessons to be learned. Older children teach the younger how to swim in the slow, green water of the Nile, how to climb a date palm, how to weave a basket from reeds, how to listen for the warning hiss of a snake or the low, rumbling growl of a crocodile. These are not just games, but the first steps in learning how to survive, how to read the land, how to move with care, how to respect the river, For the Nile is both friend and foe, a giver of life and a keeper of secrets. In the cool shade of the house, a mother braids her daughter's hair, her fingers gentle, her voice soft. She tells stories as she works, stories of gods and heroes, of clever animals and foolish men, of the first flood, of the time the river ran. Dry, each story is a lesson, a thread in the fabric of memory, a way of passing on wisdom. Without ever raising her voice, a father shows his son how to shape mud into bricks, how to plant a row of onions, how to mend a fishing net. There is pride in these lessons, a quiet satisfaction in seeing a child's hands grow steady. A child's eyes grow wise, for in this world, every skill is precious, every bit of knowledge a gift, and every child is both a hope and a promise. You might notice, as you watch, that children are rarely alone. They move in small groups. Older siblings watching over the younger, cousins and neighbors sharing chores and games. There is a sense of community, a sense that every child belongs to everyone. If a child falls, a dozen hands reach out to help. If a child laughs, a dozen voices join in. It is a world where loneliness is rare, and where every joy and every sorrow is shared. Education, in the formal sense, is reserved for a few, the children of scribes and priests, of officials and artisans. They learn to read and write, to shape the elegant curves of hieroglyphs, to recite the prayers and the laws, to keep the records that hold the kingdom together. But for most, learning happens in the fields and the workshops, in the kitchens and the courtyards. It is a learning of hands and hearts, of memory and tradition, a learning that is as old as the river itself, and as enduring. You might think at first that this is a hard life, and in many ways, it is. There are chores to be done, water to be carried, grain to be ground, animals to be fed. But there is also time for laughter, for song, for the simple joy of being alive. Children are cherished, not just for what they will become, but for who they are. Their laughter is a blessing, their curiosity, a gift, their presence, a promise that the world will go on. Illness and danger are never far. A fever, a fall, a bite from a hidden snake. There are remedies, herbs, and prayers, charms and amulets. But sometimes the gods are silent, and the night is long. Yet, even in sorrow, the community gathers. A mother is never left to grieve alone. A child is never forgotten. Their name is spoken. There's memory kept alive. For in this world, to be remembered is to live forever, and to be forgotten is the only true death. Festivals are a time of special joy, a break from the routine, a chance to dress in bright colors, to eat sweet cakes and honey, to dance and sing. Children look forward to these days, their eyes bright with anticipation. They watch the priests carry statues of the gods through the streets. They join in the songs. They help prepare the offerings. It is a time of wonder, a time when the world feels new and anything seems possible. You might find, as you watch, that the bonds of family are strong, but not rigid. A child may be raised by an aunt, or a grandmother, or a neighbor, if need be. There is a sense that every adult is responsible, that every child is precious. It is a lesson in kindness and in resilience. A reminder that, in the end, we are all part of the same story, all children of the same river, all dreamers beneath the same sky. As the sun climbs higher, children retreat to the shade. They help with small tasks, or nap in the cool darkness of the house. A cat curls beside them, a gentle guardian, a reminder that even the smallest life is cherished. In the afternoon, the world comes alive again. Children run to the river, splashing and shouting, their laughter mingling with the song of birds. It is a sound that carries across the water, a promise that, no matter how hard life may be, there is always room for joy. At night, as the stars appear, children gather at their parents' feet, listening to stories, learning the old songs. Their eyes grow heavy, their heads nod, and one by one, they drift into sleep, safe in the arms of family. Cradled by the gentle breath of the Nile, their dreams are filled with wonders, with gods and heroes, with the promise of another day, another chance to learn, to grow, to love. You might find, as you watch them sleep, that your own heart grows quiet, that the worries of the world seem smaller, that the simple joys of childhood laughter, love, belonging are the true treasures of life, and that, in the end, we are all children, dreaming beneath the same stars, hoping for a gentle morning and a world filled with kindness. As the night deepens and the village grows still, we leave the children to their dreams and drift gently into the next chapter of our journey, where the bonds of family, the strength of community, and the quiet courage of everyday life await us. Let us move softly into the heart of ancient Egypt, where every child is a promise, and every day a new beginning. As the first rays of sunlight slip through the narrow windows, the house awakens. The air is cool, touched by the faint scent of bread baking and the soft rustle of linen. In ancient Egypt, the home is more than shelter. It is the heart of life, place where love and duty are woven together, where every day begins and ends in the gentle embrace of family. You might notice, as you step inside, that the house is simple, yet full of care. The walls are smooth, whitewashed, the floors swept clean. A low table stands in the center, surrounded by stools and woven mats. Baskets of grain and jars of oil line the shelves. A small shrine glows in the corner, a lamp flickering before painted images of ancestors. It is a place of memory, a place of hope, a place where the past and the present meet. The women of the house move with quiet purpose, their hands skilled, their voices soft. They rise before the sun, kneading dough, grinding grain, drawing water from the well. Their work is never done, yet there is a kind of grace in it, a rhythm that soothes the heart, a sense that every task, no matter how small, is an offering, a way of caring for those they love, a way of honoring the gods. You might see a mother teaching her daughter to weave, her fingers guiding, her words gentle, or a grandmother telling stories as she stirs a pot of lentils, her eyes bright with memory. There is wisdom here, passed from hand to hand, from heart to heart, a wisdom that endures. Long after the day's work is done, the men, too, play their part. They tend the fields, repair the house, shape wood and stone into tools and treasures. They teach their sons the old ways, how to read the river, how to plant and harvest, how to honor the ancestors. There is pride in their work, a quiet strength, a sense that every effort, every sacrifice is for the good of the family and for the future yet to come. Meals are a time of gathering, a time to share the fruits of labor, to laugh, to remember, to give thanks. The food is simple bread, beans, onions, a little fish or cheese, but it is shared with love, passed from hand to hand, eaten with gratitude. There is no waste. Every crumb is precious, every meal a celebration of the land's generosity, and a prayer for its continued kindness. You might notice, as you watch, that the bonds of family are strong, but not rigid. A neighbor's child is welcomed as one's own. An elder is honored. A guest is treated with kindness. There is a sense that everyone belongs, that every life is precious, that every joy and every sorrow is shared. It is a lesson in compassion, a reminder that, in the end, we are all part of the same story, all children of the same river, all dreamers beneath the same sky. The role of women in the home is both gentle and powerful. They are the keepers of memory, the healers, the teachers, the ones who hold the family together. Their wisdom is quiet, their strength unspoken, yet it is their hands that shape the bread, their voices that soothe the child, their hearts that carry the hopes of generations. You might see a woman tending a sick child, her touch gentle, her prayers soft, or a wife welcoming, her husband home, her smile a balm for the day's weariness. There is love here, not always spoken, but always felt. A love that endures, through hardship and joy, through loss and hope, through the endless turning of the seasons. Marriage is a partnership, a joining of lives, a weaving together of dreams. Husbands and wives work side by side, raising children, tending the home, facing the world together. There are disagreements, of course, moments of anger, but there is also forgiveness, a willingness to begin again, to remember what matters most, to hold fast to each other. Even when the world is uncertain, you might find, as you watch, that love in ancient Egypt is not a grand gesture, but 1,000 small acts, a cup of water offered, a hand held in the dark, a song sung softly at the end of the day. It is a love that endures, quiet and strong. Like the river itself, children are cherished, not just for what they will become, but for who they are. Their laughter is a blessing, their curiosity a gift, their presence a promise that the world will go on. Elders are honored, their stories treasured, their wisdom sought. They are the keepers of memory, the guides for the young, the living link to the past. You might see a child sitting at a grandmother's feet, listening to stories of long ago, or a young woman seeking advice from her mother, her heart full of hope and fear. There is comfort in these bonds, a sense that no matter what the future brings, no one is ever truly alone. The home is a place of ritual, a place where the sacred and the everyday meet. A lamp is lit at dusk, a prayer whispered at dawn, a loaf of bread set aside for the ancestors, a song sung to the gods. These are not burdens, but blessings, ways of marking the passage of time, ways of finding meaning in the ordinary, ways of remembering that every day is a gift, and every night a promise. As the sun sets, the family gathers. Once more, the air is filled with the scent of herbs and the sound of laughter. Stories are told, songs are sung, the worries of the day are set aside. For a little while, there is only the warmth of home, the comfort of belonging, the quiet joy of being together. You might find, as you sit among them, that your own heart grows quiet, that the world outside seems far away, that the simple joys of home love, laughter, memory are the true treasures of life, and that, in the end, we are all seeking the same thing, a place to belong, a place to be known, a place to be loved. As the night deepens and the lamps are extinguished, the house grows still. The only sound is the soft breath of sleep, the gentle sigh of the river carrying dreams downstream to places unknown. And so we leave the family to their rest and drift gently into the next chapter of our journey, where the strength of community, the power of tradition, and the quiet courage of everyday life await us. In the gentle hush that follows the setting of the sun, when the last golden rays slip quietly behind the distant palms, and the world is painted in the softest shades of blue and violet, the village of ancient Egypt becomes a place of gathering, of shared breath and quiet voices, of neighbors and kin drawn together by the invisible threads of community. It is in these moments, when the air is cool and the dust has settled, that you begin to understand how deeply the people of this land are bound to one another, how every life is woven into the next, how every joy and every sorrow is carried not by one, but by many. The sense of belonging here is not a thing spoken of, not a lesson taught in words, but a feeling that seeps into the bones, a certainty that you are never truly alone, that your laughter will always find an echo, and your tears will always be met with gentle hands. As you walk through the narrow lanes, your feet stirring the fine, powdery dust that has settled over the earth like a soft blanket, you notice the way the houses lean toward one another, their walls close, their doors open, their courtyards filled with the quiet hum of life. There is a rhythm to the evening, a slow, patient unfolding. As families finish their meals and step outside, as children gather in small, sleepy clusters, their games growing softer, their voices lower, as elders settle onto low stools, their faces turn toward the breeze, their eyes reflecting the last light of day. The air is filled with the scent of wood smoke and roasting onions, with the faint sweetness of dates and the sharper tang of garlic, with the earthy aroma of the river carried on the night wind. It is a scent that speaks of home, of comfort, of the long, unbroken chain of days and nights that stretches back through memory and into the deep, silent past. You might see a group of women sitting together, their hands busy with the slow, careful work of weaving baskets or mending nets, their voices rising and falling in a gentle, unhurried conversation. They speak of the day's small triumphs and troubles, of a child's first steps, of a neighbor's illness, of the price of grain and the promise of rain. Their laughter is soft, but it carries, weaving through the air like a song. There is a comfort in this gathering, a sense that every burden is lighter when shared, that every joy is sweeter when celebrated. Together, the work is never truly finished, but in the company of others, it becomes a kind of blessing, a way of marking time, a way of saying, we are here, and we are together, and that is enough. The men, too, gather in the cool of the evening, their hands rough from the day's labor, their voices low and steady. They speak of the river's moods, of the health of the cattle, of the coming flood. They share stories of their fathers and grandfathers, of the old days when the world seemed larger and the gods walked more closely among men. There is pride in their words and a quiet humility, a recognition that their strength is not their own, but drawn from the land, from the river, from the community that surrounds them. They know that alone they are small, but together they are strong. It is a lesson learned not in a single day, but over a lifetime, a lesson written in the lines of their faces, in the calluses on their hands, in the steady, unbreakable bond that ties them to one another. Children, their energy finally spent, curl up beside their parents, their heads resting on laps or shoulders, their eyes heavy with sleep. They listen to the stories that drift through the night air, stories of gods and monsters, of clever animals and foolish men, of the first flood, and the time the river ran dry. These stories are more than entertainment, more than a way to pass the time. They are the threads that bind the generations, the lessons that shape the heart, the memories that will one day be passed on to children yet unborn. In the telling and retelling, the past is kept alive, the future is prepared for, and the present is made sacred. It is a kind of magic, this sharing of words, this weaving of dreams, a magic that lingers long after the last story is told, long after the last lamp is extinguished, long after the world has fallen silent. You might notice, as you sit among them, that there is no sharp line between family and neighbor, between kin and stranger. A child's cry is answered by any nearby adult. A loaf of bread is shared without hesitation. A sick elder is cared for. By many hands, there is a sense that every life is precious, that every loss is felt by all, that every joy is multiplied in the sharing. It is a lesson in compassion, in humility, in the quiet strength that comes from knowing you are part of something larger than yourself. You might find, as you watch, that your own heart grows softer, that your own worries seem smaller, that the simple act of belonging is the greatest comfort of all. The rituals of community are woven into every day. A birth is celebrated with songs and gifts, a marriage with feasting and dance, a death with tears and memory, and the promise that the departed will never be forgotten. There are festivals that bring the whole village together, days of music and laughter, of bright colors and sweet cakes, of prayers and offerings to the gods. These are the moments when the boundaries between households dissolve, when the village becomes a single living thing, breathing and singing and hoping together. It is in these moments that the true strength of the community is revealed, not in the grand gestures, but in the small, everyday acts of kindness. A cup of water offered to a thirsty traveler, a hand extended to help with the harvest, a word of comfort whispered in the dark. These are the ties that bind, the unseen threads that hold the world together. As the night deepens, the village grows quiet. The last voices fade, the last lamps are extinguished, the last child is carried inside. World is wrapped in darkness. But it is a darkness filled with peace, with the soft breath of sleep, with the gentle promise of another day. You might find, as you lie beneath the stars, that you feel a part of this world, that the worries and fears of your own time have faded, that the simple joys of belonging, of being known, of being loved, are enough. And as you drift into sleep, carried on the breath of the Nile, you carry with you the memory of a village, a community, a world where every life matters, where every day is a gift and every night a promise of new beginnings and endless possibilities. In the soft, golden hush that follows the first light of dawn, when the world is still cool and the air is heavy with the promise of another sun-drenched day, the people of ancient Egypt rise to meet their work. It is not a hurried rising, not a jolt from sleep to labor, but a slow, gentle unfolding, as if the land itself is stretching, yawning, and preparing for the long hours ahead. You might hear the low murmur of voices, the quiet clatter of wooden tools, the distant bray of a donkey. You might feel the coolness of the earth beneath your feet, the roughness of woven reed mats, the soft brush of linen against your skin. It is a world that wakes not with alarms or schedules, but with the slow turning of the sun, the steady flow of the river, the ancient rhythm of need and hope. The work of the day is as old as the land itself. It is the work of hands and hearts, of bodies shaped by sun and soil, of minds attuned to the subtle changes in wind and water. For the people of Egypt, work is not a punishment, not a burden to be endured, but a way of being, a way of belonging, a way of honoring the gifts of the earth. You might see a farmer kneeling in the rich black silt left by the Nile's flood, his fingers pressing seeds into the damp earth, his eyes scanning the sky for signs of rain or drought. You might see a woman bending over a row of onions, her hands quick and sure, her voice rising in song. You might see a child carrying a basket of reeds, her steps careful, her face bright with pride. Each task is small, but together they form the great, unending tapestry of life, a tapestry woven from sweat and laughter, from hope and memory, from the quiet courage of those who rise each day to meet the world as it is. The sun climbs slowly, its light growing stronger, its heat more insistent. There is no escape from its gaze, no shelter but the shade of a palm, the coolness of a mud brick wall, the brief respite of a breeze. You might find the heat overwhelming, the sweat stinging your eyes, the dust clinging to your skin. You might long for the comforts of your own time, a cool drink, a soft chair, a moment of rest. But here, rest is a luxury, a gift to be savored in small doses, a pause beneath a tree, a sip of water from a clay jar, a shared joke, a quiet moment of stillness. The work continues, slow and steady. There is no rush, no frantic hurry, only the patient, unyielding march of time. The fields must be tended, the animals fed, the house kept in order. There is always something to be done, always another task waiting, always another day to prepare for. You might notice, as you watch, that the work is shared. No one labors alone. Men and women, old and young, all have their part to play. A father teaches his son to guide the plow. A mother shows her daughter how to spin flax into linen. A group of neighbors gather to repair a roof, their laughter rising above the sound of hammers and saws. There is pride in this sharing, a sense of accomplishment, a feeling that every hand matters, every effort counts. It is a lesson in humility, in patience, in the quiet strength that comes from knowing you are needed. You might find, as you join in, that your own hands grow steadier, your own heart lighter, your own spirit stronger. For in this world, work is not just a means of survival, but a way of connecting, a way of giving thanks, a way of finding meaning in the everyday. The tools of labor are simple, but well cared for: a wooden plow, a stone, sickle, a basket woven from reeds. Each tool is shaped by hand, passed down from parent to child, repaired and cherished. There is a kind of beauty in their simplicity, a sense of history, a reminder that the best things are often the ones that endure. You might run your fingers over the smooth handle of a hoe, feel the weight of a clay jar, marvel at the skill required. To shape a loaf of bread from grain and water and fire, there is no waste here, no excess, only what is needed, only what can be made and remade. It is a lesson in resourcefulness, in gratitude, in the quiet joy of making do as the sun reaches its zenith. The world slows, the heat presses down. Heavy and relentless, people retreat to the shade, to the coolness of their homes, to the comfort of a shared meal. Lunch is simple: a loaf of bread, a bowl of beans, a handful of dates, a cup of beer. It is eaten slowly, in silence or in soft conversation, a moment to rest, to breathe, to remember that life is more than work, a moment to give thanks, to honor the gods, to cherish the company of others. You might find, as you sit among them, that the food tastes sweeter, the air cooler, the world softer, that the simple act of sharing a meal is a kind of blessing, a way of saying, we are here, and we are together, and that is enough. The afternoon brings a return to work. The fields call, the animals wait, the house must be swept, the water drawn. There is a rhythm to the day, a slow, steady pulse that carries everyone forward. You might feel the weight of it, the endlessness, the repetition, but you might also find comfort in the routine, in the knowledge that every task has its place, every effort its reward. There is satisfaction in a row of wheat standing tall, in a basket of figs gathered at sunset, in a house swept clean and cool. It is a satisfaction born not of wealth or power, but of effort, of care, of the quiet pride that comes from a job well done. As the sun begins to sink, the world softens, the light grows golden, the air cools, the shadows lengthen, the work slows, then stops. Tools are cleaned and put away, animals are fed and watered, the house is made ready for night. There is a sense of completion, of fulfillment, of peace. You might feel it in your own bones, a deep, quiet tiredness, a sense that you have earned your rest, that you have given your best, that you have honored the land and the people and the gods. It is a feeling that lingers, that carries you through the evening, that makes the world feel safe and whole. The night brings its own work, its own rituals. A lamp is lit, a prayer whispered, a story told. The family gathers, the community draws close. There is laughter, and sometimes tears. There is memory and hope and the promise of another day. You might find, as you sit among them, that the worries of the world seem smaller, that the joys seem brighter, that the simple act of being together is the greatest gift of all. And as you drift into sleep, carried on the breath of the Nile, you carry with you the memory of a day well spent, a day of work and rest, of effort and reward, of belonging and love, a day that is both ancient and eternal, a day that reminds you that, in the end, we are all shaped by the work of our hands, by the love in our hearts, by the ties that bind us to the land and to each other. As the stars appear, one by one, the world grows quiet. The river sings its slow, endless song. The earth cools, the sky deepens, and the people of Egypt, tired but content, close their eyes and dream of good harvests, of gentle floods, of children growing strong and old ones passing peacefully. Dream of the gods, of journeys through the underworld. of the promise of rebirth, and in their dreams, as in their waking lives, they are never alone. For the land, the river, the sky, and the community are always with them, always holding, always guiding, always loving. And so, as the night deepens and the world grows still, we leave them to their rest and drift gently into the next chapter of our journey, where the mysteries of craft, the beauty of art, and the quiet dignity of creation await us. In the gentle hush that follows the long day's work, as the sun slips lower and the world is bathed in the soft, golden light of late afternoon, the village of ancient Egypt becomes a place of quiet industry. It is a time when the fields rest, when the animals doze in the shade, when the air is filled not with the sounds of labor, but with the softer, more patient music of creation. For in this land, the work of the hands is as sacred as the work of the heart, and the beauty of the everyday is cherished as deeply as the mysteries of the gods. You might wander through the narrow lanes and find yourself drawn to the open courtyards, where artisans sit at their work, their hands moving with a slow, practiced grace. There is a potter, his fingers stained with clay, shaping a vessel on a simple wheel. He works with the patience of the river, coaxing the earth into forms both useful and lovely. Each pot, each bowl, each jar is a small miracle, a marriage of earth and water, of fire and air, a testament to the quiet power of skill and care. You might watch as he smooths the rim, as he carves a simple pattern, as he sets the finished piece aside to dry in the sun. There is pride in his work, but it is a quiet pride, a satisfaction that comes not from praise, but from the knowledge that he has made something lasting, something that will hold water or grain or oil, something that will be used and cherished, and perhaps one day passed on nearby. A weaver sits at her loom, her fingers nimble, her eyes bright with concentration. She draws the shuttle back and forth, the threads growing into cloth, the cloth into garments, the garments into the fabric of daily life, linen, soft and cool, spun from flax grown in the fields, dyed with the colors of earth and sky ochre, indigo, the pale green of young reeds. She weaves not just for herself, but for her family, for her neighbors, for the temple. Each length of cloth is a gift, a blessing, a piece of herself given to the world. You might run your hand over the finished fabric, feel the smoothness, the strength, the subtle pattern woven into the threads. It is a kind of magic, this transformation of plant into cloth, of effort into comfort, of care into beauty, a magic that lingers in every fold, every seam, every gentle touch. In another corner, a carpenter shapes wood into tools and treasures. His hands are strong, his movements sure. He knows the grain of each piece, the way it bends, the way it sings beneath the blade. He fashions plows and stools, chests and doors. He carves small figures of gods and animals, toys for children, amulets for protection. There is a warmth in his work, a sense of life, sense that every piece of wood holds a story that he helps to tell. You might watch as he fits a lid to a box, as he polishes the surface with a scrap of linen, as he smiles at the satisfaction of a job well done. It is a smile that speaks of patience, of pride, of the quiet joy of making something with your own hands. The world of the artisan is not one of wealth or luxury. Most live simply, their homes small, their possessions few. But there is a richness here, a depth, a sense of purpose, for to create is to honor the gods. 2. Shape the world, even in small ways, to leave a mark, however humble. You might find, as you watch, that your own heart is stirred, that you long to make something, to shape something, to leave behind a trace of your own passing. It is a longing as old as time, a longing that binds us all, no matter the age, no matter the place. The tools of the artisan are simple, but cherished. A potter's wheel, a weaver's loom, a carpenter's chisel. Each tool is cared for, repaired, passed down, There is a respect for the materials, for the process, for the slow unfolding of skill. Mistakes are not hidden, but learned from. A cracked pot becomes a lesson, a crooked seam a chance to improve. There is no shame in imperfection, only in carelessness. For in this world, effort is honored, patience is prized, and the beauty of the everyday is celebrated. You might notice, as you wander, that the work of the artisan is woven into every part of life. The pots that hold water, the baskets that carry grain, the mats that cover, the floors, the beads that adorn the necks of children. Each object is both useful and beautiful, a reminder that the world is full of wonder, that even the simplest things can be made with care, that every day holds the possibility of creation, and that every life, no matter how humble, is a work of art. In the temples and palaces, the work of the artisan reaches its highest form. Stone is carved into statues. Walls are painted with scenes of gods and kings. Jewels are set into gold. Glass is shaped into amulets. The hands that shape these wonders are the same hands that shape the pots and baskets of the village. The same patience, the same skill, the same quiet pride. There is a sense that all creation, great and small, is sacred, that every act of making is an act of worship, a way of honoring the gods, a way of giving thanks for the gifts of the earth, a way of leaving a mark, a way of saying, I was here, and I made something beautiful. You might find, as you watch, that the world grows softer, that the noise and haste of your own time fade away, that the slow, patient work of the hands becomes a kind of meditation, a way of finding peace, a way of remembering what matters, a way of connecting to something larger than yourself. It is a lesson in humility, in gratitude, in the quiet joy of creation. As the sun sets, the artisans put away their tools. They wash their hands, stretch their backs, share a smile. Their work is done for the day, but the beauty they have made lingers. In the pots cooling in the shade, in the cloth folded on the shelf, in the toys left on the doorstep, it is a beauty that endures, a beauty that is carried into the night, a beauty that will greet the dawn and begin again. The family gathers, the community draws close. There is laughter, and sometimes song. There is pride in the day's work. There is hope for tomorrow. You might find, as you sit among them, that your own heart is lighter, that the world feels kinder, that the simple act of making, of shaping, of creating is the greatest gift of all. And as you drift into sleep, carried on the breath of the Nile, you carry with you the memory of hands at work, of beauty made from earth and water, from patience and care, of a world where every day is a chance to create, and every night a chance to dream. As the stars appear, one by one, the world grows quiet. The river sings its slow, endless song. The earth cools, the sky deepens, and the people of Egypt, tired but content, close their eyes and dream. Dream of new creations, of beauty yet to be made, of hands yet to learn. Dream of the gods, of the mysteries of art, of the promise of another day. And in their dreams, as in their waking lives, they are never alone. For the land, the river, the sky, and the community are always with them, always holding, always guiding, always loving. And so, as the night deepens and the world grows still, we leave them to their rest and drift gently. As the first pale light of dawn brushes the tops of the palm trees, and the world is still wrapped in the gentle hush of night's end, the people of ancient Egypt turn their hearts and minds to the sacred. It is a time when the air is cool, and the sky is painted with the softest shades of blue and rose. A time when the world feels new, and every breath is a prayer. For in this land, faith is not a thing apart, not a matter of distant gods or hidden mysteries, but a living presence, woven into every moment, every action, every hope. You might find yourself drawn to the great temples that rise above the fields and villages, their walls gleaming in the early light, their columns carved with stories older than memory. The air is thick with the scent of incense, with the low murmur of prayers, with the soft, rhythmic chanting of priests. It is a world apart, a world within the world, a place where the sacred and the everyday meet, where the hopes and fears of a people are offered up to the gods, and where the gods, in turn, are believed to walk among their people, guiding, protecting, listening. The rituals of the temple are both grand and intimate. Priests move through shadowed halls, their footsteps echoing on cool stone. They wash their hands in sacred water. They light lamps and incense. They offer bread and beer, fruit and flowers. Their voices rise in song, in prayer, in the ancient language of the gods. It is a language of the heart, a language that speaks of longing and gratitude, of fear and hope. You might watch as a priest lifts a loaf of bread, as he pours a libation of beer, as he bows his head in silent prayer. There is a sense of reverence, of humility, of awe, a sense that every act, no matter how small, is seen, that every prayer, no matter how quiet, is heard. The gods themselves are many, each with their own story, their own place in the world. There is Ra, the sun god, who sails across the sky each day in his golden boat, and slips into the underworld each night, fighting the serpent of chaos so that dawn may come again. There is Osiris, lord of the afterlife, whose green skin is the color of new growth, and Isis, his wife, whose love is as deep as the river. There is Hathor, the gentle cow goddess, bringer of joy and music, and Thoth, the wise ibis, keeper of knowledge and the written word. There is Bastet, the cat goddess, protector of home and hearth, and Anubis, the jackal-headed guide of souls. Each god is honored in their own way, with songs and offerings, with festivals and prayers. Each is both distant and near, a mystery and a friend, a presence felt in the warmth of the sun, in the coolness of the river, in the quiet of the night. You might notice, as you watch, that faith is not confined to the temple. It is carried into every home, every field, every heart. A mother whispers a prayer as she kneads dough. A farmer thanks the river before casting his net. A child sings to the moon just because it is beautiful. There are amulets worn for protection, charms hung above doorways, small shrines tucked into corners. Faith is a part of life, as natural as breathing, a way of making sense of the world, a way of finding comfort in uncertainty, a way of hoping, even when hope is hard to find. The festivals of the gods are times of joy and wonder. The whole village gathers, dressed in their finest. There is music and dancing, feasting and laughter. Statues of the gods are carried through the streets. Offerings are made, prayers are sung. It is a time when the boundaries between the sacred and the everyday dissolve, when the world feels new. When anything seems possible, you might find yourself swept up in the celebration, your heart lifted by the music, your spirit soothed by the sense of belonging. It is a reminder that faith is not just a matter of belief, but a matter of community, of shared hope, of dreams carried together. The rituals of faith are not always grand. Often, they are small, quiet, personal. A lamp lit at dusk, a flower placed on a grave, a name spoken in memory. These are the moments when the sacred slips into the everyday, when the heart finds comfort, when the soul finds peace. You might find, as you watch, that your own heart grows quieter, that your own worries seem smaller, that the simple act of believing, of hoping, of loving, is the greatest act of all. The priests are the keepers of tradition, the guardians of memory. They know the old stories, the old songs, the old ways. They teach the children. They comfort the grieving. They guide the lost. Their wisdom is sought. Their presence is cherished. But they are not distant, not set apart. They are part of the community, part of the great, unbroken chain of life. You might see a priest helping in the fields or sharing a meal with neighbors. or laughing with children, there is a humility here, a sense that the sacred is not a thing apart, but a thing shared, a thing lived, a thing loved. The mysteries of faith are many. There are questions that have no answers, hopes that are never fulfilled, prayers that seem to go unheard. But there is a courage in believing, a strength in hoping, a quiet dignity in trusting that the world is more than what can be seen, that there is meaning, even in sorrow, that there is beauty, even in loss, that there is hope, even in the darkest night. You might find, as you sit among them, that your own heart is steadied, that your own spirit is lifted, that the simple act of faith is a kind of courage, a kind of love, a kind of grace. As the sun rises higher, the world grows brighter, the temple doors are opened, the people return to their work. But the memory of the sacred lingers, in the scent of incense, in the echo of song, in the quiet hope that carries them through the day. You might find, as you walk through the village, that the world feels softer, that the air is filled with promise, that every moment is touched by the sacred, and that every heart carries its own small flame of hope. As the day unfolds, the rituals of faith continue. A prayer before a meal, a blessing for a child, a song for the river. These are the moments that shape the day, that give meaning to the ordinary, that remind the people of Egypt, and perhaps remind you us all, that life is a gift, that every day is a chance to hope, that every night is a promise of new beginnings. As the sun sets, the world grows quiet, the lamps are lit, the prayers are whispered, the dreams are dreamed, and the people of Egypt, tired but content, close their eyes and rest, their hearts full of hope, their spirits full of faith, their lives full of meaning. And as the stars appear, one by one, the world is wrapped in peace, in the gentle, unbreakable promise of another day. And so, as the night deepens and the world grows still, we leave them to their rest and drift gently. As the sun climbs higher and the day unfolds in slow golden waves, the village is alive with the quiet music of voices. There is laughter drifting from shaded courtyards, the soft murmur of conversation beneath the palms, the gentle clatter of shared work. In ancient Egypt, the bonds between people are not just a matter of family or duty, but of friendship, of affection, of the small, everyday acts that turn neighbors into companions and strangers into friends. It is a world where the heart finds many ways to speak, and where love, in all its forms, is woven into the very fabric of life. You might see two women sitting side by side, their hands busy with weaving or grinding grain, their voices low and full of warmth. They share stories of their children, their hopes, their worries. They laugh at old memories, comfort each other in sorrow. Their friendship is a quiet thing, not marked by grand gestures, but by the steady presence of one another, a loaf of bread, shared, a task made lighter, a secret kept safe. It is a bond that grows slowly, over years and seasons, a bond that endures, even when the world changes. You might notice the way they lean toward each other, the way their laughter rings out, the way their eyes meet in silent understanding. It is a friendship that needs no words, a friendship that is as steady as the river, as gentle as the evening breeze. Children, too, form their own circles of affection. They run together through the fields, their feet bare, their faces bright with joy. They invent games, share treasures, whisper secrets beneath the shade of the sycamore. Their friendships are fierce and fleeting, full of laughter and tears. A quarrel in the morning is forgotten by afternoon. A promise made in the heat of play is remembered for a lifetime. You might see a group of children building a small boat from reeds, their hands working together, their voices rising in song, or a pair of friends sitting quietly, watching the river flow, their silence as comfortable as any conversation. In these moments, the world feels safe, the future full of promise, and the heart unburdened among the young. Love sometimes blooms like the lotus in the river, slowly, quietly, almost unnoticed. A glance exchanged at the well, a smile shared across the fields, a song sung softly in the dusk. There are no grand declarations, no hurried confessions, only the slow unfolding of feeling, the gentle dance of hope and uncertainty. A young man might carve a small token, a bead, a figurine, a simple ring, and leave it where his beloved will find it. A young woman might weave a garland of flowers, her fingers trembling with anticipation. Their courtship is a matter of patience, of respect, of small, careful steps. It is watched over by family, by friends, by the ever-present eyes of the community. But it is also private, a secret world shared by two hearts, a world of dreams and longing, of laughter and shyness, of hope, always. Hope, marriage, when it comes, is both a celebration and a promise. The village gathers, the air is filled with music and song. There is feasting, dancing, the exchange of gifts, but beneath the joy, there is a quiet seriousness, a recognition that this is not just the joining of two people, but the weaving together of families, of futures, of lives. The couple stands before their elders, their hands joined, their eyes bright with anticipation and a little fear. They speak their vows, not in the language of law, but in the language of the heart, a promise to care, to honor, to endure, to share the burdens and the joys, to build a life together. It is a promise made not just to each other, but to the community, a promise that will be remembered, and in times of trouble, gently reminded. Love in ancient Egypt is not always easy. There are hardships, misunderstandings, moments of anger and disappointment, but there is also forgiveness, a willingness to begin again, to remember what matters most, to hold fast to each other, even when the world is uncertain. You might see a couple sitting together at the end of a long day, their hands entwined, their faces turned toward the river. They do not speak, but their silence is full of comfort, a reminder that love is not just a feeling, but a choice, a practice, a way of being. It is a love that endures, quiet and strong, like the river itself. Friendship, too, is a source of strength. Neighbors help each other with the harvest, with the building of a house, with the care of children. A sick elder is never left alone. A new mother is surrounded by helping hands. A traveler is welcomed, given food and shelter. There is a sense that every life is precious, that every joy is multiplied in the sharing, that every sorrow is made lighter by the presence of others. You might find, as you watch, that your own heart grows softer, that your own worries seem smaller, that the simple act of kindness is the greatest gift of all. The bonds of affection are not limited by age or status. An old man and a young boy might share a joke. A widow and her neighbor might sit together in the cool of the evening, their friendship a comfort, a reminder that no one is ever truly alone. There is a humility here, a sense that the heart has many rooms, that there is always space for one more, always time for one more story, one more laugh, one more gentle touch. As the day draws to a close, the village gathers in the soft light of dusk. There is music, laughter, the sharing of food and stories. The air is filled with the scent of roasting onions, the sweetness of dates, the warmth of bread. Children doze in their mothers' laps. Friends lean close. Lovers exchange shy glances. It is a moment of peace, a moment when the world feels whole, when the heart is full, and the future, whatever it may bring, seems a little less daunting. You might find, as you sit among them, that you are welcomed, that your presence is valued, that your story, too, is part of the great, unending tapestry of life. As the stars begin to appear, one by one, the village grows quiet. The laughter fades, the music softens, the last stories are told. But the bonds of affection remain, unseen but unbroken, carrying each person through the night and into the promise of another day. In the gentle hush that follows, you might feel the warmth of these connections, a warmth that lingers long after the fires have burned low, long after the world has fallen silent. A warmth that is, perhaps, the truest measure of a life well lived. And as you close your eyes, you carry with you the memory of laughter, of kindness, of love. A memory that will light your dreams and guide you gently into the next dawn, where new stories, new friendships, and new hopes await, each one a thread in the ever-growing tapestry of this ancient, enduring world. As the first cool breath of morning stirs the reeds along the riverbank, the village awakens to a world where health is both a blessing and a daily challenge. In ancient Egypt, the body is seen as a gift, a vessel to be cherished, protected, and honored. Yet it is also fragile, vulnerable to the whims of nature, the bite of insects, the fever that comes with the changing seasons. You might notice, as you walk through the village, the careful attention paid to cleanliness. The way water is drawn fresh from the river each morning, the way hands are washed before meals, the way homes are swept and aired. There is a wisdom here, born of long experience, a recognition that health is not just a matter of luck, but of care, of vigilance, of respect for the body and the world it inhabits. The healers of Egypt are both men and women, their knowledge passed down through generations, written in the language of plants and stones, of prayers and rituals. You might see a healer gathering herbs at dawn, her basket filled with mint and garlic, with willow bark and lotus petals. She knows which plants soothe a fever, which ease a cough, which bring sleep to a restless child. Her hands are gentle, her voice calm. She listens as much as she speaks. For healing is as much about comfort as it is about cure. A touch on the forehead, a whispered blessing, a cup of warm tea. These are the tools of her art, and in her care, the sick find hope, the weary find rest, the frightened find peace. There are doctors too, trained in the temples, their knowledge written on papyrus scrolls, their skills honed by years of study and practice. They set broken bones, stitch wounds, treat infections. They use honey to cleanse, moldy bread to fight illness. They understand the pulse, the breath, the signs of pain. Yet, even the most skilled doctor knows the limits of his art. He knows that some illnesses are beyond his reach, that some lives will slip away. No matter how hard he tries, in those moments, he turns to prayer, too. The gods of healing, to the spirits of the ancestors. He offers incense, pours water, speaks the ancient words. For in this world, healing is never just a matter of the body, but of the spirit, of hope, of faith. You might notice, as you watch, the way the community gathers around the sick. A neighbor brings a bowl of soup, a child fetches water, an elder sits by the bedside, telling stories to pass the long hours. There is no shame in illness, no fear of being left alone. For in this world, every life is precious, every suffering is shared, every recovery is celebrated. It is a lesson in compassion, a reminder that the strength of a people is measured not by their wealth or power, but by their willingness to care for one another, to lift each other up, to carry each other through the dark times. The remedies of Egypt are many. Some are simple a poultice of herbs, a bath in cool water, a diet of soft bread and honey. Some are mysterious, an amulet worn around the neck, a spell whispered at midnight, a charm buried beneath the threshold. There is no sharp line between medicine and magic, no division between the seen and the unseen. For in this world, the body and the spirit are bound together. And healing is a matter of both. You might find, as you listen, that the words of the healer are as important as the herb she gives, that the hope she offers is as powerful as any medicine, that the belief in recovery is itself a kind of cure. Illness is a part of life, a shadow that falls across every family, a reminder of the fragility of the body, the uncertainty of the world. Yet it is also a teacher, a chance to slow down, to rest, to be cared for, a chance to remember what matters most. the touch of a loved one's hand, the sound of a friend's voice, the comfort of a familiar story. These are the things that heal, that give strength, that carry the sick through the long, dark nights. There are times when healing is not possible, when the body fails, when the spirit prepares to journey on. In those moments, the community gathers. Prayers are whispered, songs are sung, the dying are surrounded. By love, their names are spoken, their stories remembered. There is sorrow, yes, but there is also peace. A sense that death is not an end, but a passage, a return to the river, a reunion with the ancestors, a promise that the story will go on, that the love given and received will never be lost. You might find, as you watch, that your own fears grow quieter, that the mystery of illness and death seems less frightening, that the strength of the human spirit, the power of care, the comfort of community are enough, that the simple act of being present, of offering a hand, a word, a smile, is the greatest gift of all. As the day unfolds, the work of healing continues, a child recovers, her laughter returning, an elder finds relief from pain, a family gives thanks. Healer moves on, her basket lighter, her heart full. The village breathes a little easier. The world feels a little kinder, a little safer, a little more whole. As the sun sets, the lamps are lit. The prayers are whispered, the dreams are dreamed, and the people of Egypt, tired but grateful, close their eyes and rest, their bodies healed, their spirits soothed, their hearts full of hope in the gentle darkness. The memory of care lingers, a memory that will carry them through the night and into the promise of another day, a day filled with the quiet strength of love, the enduring power of hope, and the unbreakable bonds of community. A day that reminds us all that, in the end, it is not the absence of illness, but the presence of care that makes life beautiful and worth living. As the sun rises and the world is painted in soft gold, the village stirs with the gentle promise of another day. The air is cool, touched by the scent of baking bread and the distant sweetness of ripening figs. In ancient Egypt, food is more than sustenance. It is a ritual, a celebration, a way of honoring the land and the river that give life. Every meal, no matter how simple, is a quiet act of gratitude, a moment to pause to gather, to remember that the earth is generous, and that every mouthful is a gift. You might wake to the sound of grinding stones, the steady rhythm of women's hands turning grain into flour, the low hum of voices, the soft laughter that drifts through open doorways. Bread is the heart of every meal, flat loaves, round and warm, baked in clay ovens, their crusts crisp, their centers soft. The taste is earthy, honest, a taste that speaks of the fields, the sun, the patient work of many hands. You might watch as a mother tears a loaf in half, passing one piece to her child, another to her neighbor. There is no eating alone. Food is always shared, a reminder that survival is a communal effort, that every meal is a thread in the fabric of belonging. The table of the Nile is simple, but abundant. Bowls of lentils and beans, platters of onions and leeks, jars of honey, baskets of dates. There is cheese, made from the milk of goats and cows, fish, caught fresh from the river, roasted over open flames. Sometimes there is meat duck or goose, a rare treat, but most days the meal is humble, a celebration of what the land provides, a lesson in making do, in finding joy in the ordinary. You might find the flavors unfamiliar at first, the bread coarse, the beer thick and sour, but in time, you would come to appreciate the honesty of it, the way each bite is a celebration of the land's generosity and a quiet prayer for its continued kindness. Meals are eaten with the hands, bread torn and dipped, vegetables scooped up. There are no forks or knives, only the simple tools of hand and heart. The act of eating is slow, mindful, a time to talk, to laugh, to remember, a time to give thanks for the food, for the company, for the day, You might notice the way people linger at the table, the way stories are told, the way laughter rises and falls, the way every meal is a moment of connection, a moment when the world feels safe, and the heart unburdened. Feasting is a special joy, a break from the routine, a chance to dress in bright colors, to eat sweet cakes and honey, to dance and sing. Festivals bring the whole village together. The air is filled with music, with the scent of roasting meat. With the laughter of children, tables are laden with food. Offerings are made to the gods. Prayers are sung. It is a time when the boundaries between households dissolve, when the village becomes a single, living thing, breathing and singing and hoping. Together, you might find yourself swept up in the celebration, your heart lifted by the music, your spirit soothed by the sense of belonging. It is a reminder that food is not just a matter of survival, but a matter of joy, of community, of love. Rituals of food are many. A loaf of bread set aside for the ancestors, a cup of beer poured out for the river god, a prayer whispered before the first bite. These are not burdens, but blessings, ways of marking the passage of time, ways of finding meaning in the ordinary, ways of remembering that every day is a gift, and every night a promise. You might notice the way children are taught to give thanks, the way elders remind the young of the stories behind each dish, the way every meal is a lesson in gratitude, in patience, in the quiet joy of enough. Hunger is a shadow that is never far. A poor harvest, a failed flood, a sickness among the animals. These are the fears that haunt every table. But even in lean times, the people share what they have: a bowl of soup, a piece of bread, a handful of dates. No one is left to go hungry alone. There is a humility here, a recognition that fortune is fickle, that the river gives and the river takes, that the only true wealth is the wealth of the heart, the wealth of kindness, of generosity, of care. You might find, as you watch, that your own heart grows softer, that the worries of your own time seem smaller, that the simple act of sharing a meal is the greatest comfort of all, a comfort that lingers long after the food is gone, long after the table is cleared, long after the night has fallen. As the day draws to a close, the family gathers for the evening meal. The air is filled with the scent of herbs and the sound of laughter. Stories are told, songs are sung. The worries of the day are set aside. For a little while, there is only the warmth of home, the comfort of belonging, the quiet joy of being together. You might find, as you sit among them, that your own heart grows quiet, that the world outside seems far away, that the simple joys of home love, laughter, memory are the true treasures of life, and that, in the end, we are all seeking the same thing: a place to belong, a place to be known, a place to be loved. As the lamps are lit and the stars appear, the village grows quiet. The last stories are told, the last bread is broken, the last prayers are whispered, but the memory of the meal lingers, a memory that will carry each person through the night and into the promise of another day, a day filled with the quiet strength of gratitude, the enduring power of hope, and the unbreakable bonds of community. A day that reminds us all that, in the end, it is not the richness of the table, but the richness of the heart that makes life beautiful and worth living. As the first rays of sunlight slip through the narrow windows and the world is painted in the softest shades of gold and cream, the people of ancient Egypt begin their day with a quiet ritual of transformation. It is a ritual as old as memory, as gentle as the morning breeze. A ritual that speaks not just of necessity, but of identity, of pride, of the subtle ways in which the self is shaped and revealed. For in this land, clothing is more than protection from the sun. It is a language, a story, a way of belonging. You might watch as a woman smooths a length of linen over her shoulders, her hands moving with practiced grace. The fabric is soft, cool, spun from flax grown in the fields. It is washed and beaten until it is as light as air, as gentle as a sigh, She wraps it around her body, fastens it with a simple knot, adorns it with a necklace of faience beads, a bracelet of shell or copper, a ring carved from bone or wood, each. Pieces chosen with care, each piece a memory, a hope, a quiet declaration of self. You might notice the way she stands a little taller, the way her eyes shine, the way her smile lingers. It is a moment of pride, a moment of beauty, a moment of becoming men. 2. Dress with care. A kilt of linen, pleated and tied, a belt of woven reeds, a simple amulet hung around the neck. Their clothing is plain, but clean. Their hair is oiled and combed, their faces sometimes painted with a touch of ochre, a mark of celebration, a sign of respect. You might see a father helping his son tie his first kilt, his hands gentle, his voice full of pride, or a group of young men laughing as they compare amulets, each one a token of luck, of love, of hope. There is a joy in these small acts, a sense that the body is a canvas, that every day is a chance to create, to express, to belong. Children often run naked in the heat of summer, their skin darkened by the sun, their laughter bright and unburdened. But as they grow, they too learn the rituals of dress. A first tunic, a first necklace, a first painted eye. These are milestones, moments of pride, moments when the child steps a little closer to the world of adults. You might see a mother braiding her daughter's hair, weaving in a ribbon of blue, a father fastening a small amulet around his son's neck, a grandmother smiling as she watches, her eyes full of memory, her heart full of hope. The colors of Egypt are soft, earthy ochres, gentle greens, the pale blue of the sky. Dyes are made from plants and minerals, indigo from the woad, red from the madder root, yellow from saffron. The wealthy might wear brighter colors, more elaborate patterns, but for most, the beauty is in the simplicity, in the way the linen catches the light, in the way a single bead glows against the skin, in the way a child's laughter is the brightest adornment of all. Adornment is not just for beauty, it is for protection, for luck, for memory. Amulets shaped like scarabs, like frogs, like the sacred eye. Each one a shield, a promise, a prayer, a necklace given at birth, a bracelet worn for a lifetime, a ring passed from mother to daughter, from father to son. These are the treasures of the heart, the treasures that endure long after the linen has faded, long after the colors have dimmed, long after the world has changed. You might notice, as you watch, the way people take care with their appearance, the way they wash in the cool water of the river, the way they oil their skin, the way they comb and braid their hair. There is a respect for the body, a recognition that it is both gift and responsibility, a vessel for the spirit, a canvas for the self, a way of honoring the gods and the world they have made. Perfume is a special joy. Oil scented with myrrh, with lotus, with cinnamon, a drop behind the ear, a dab on the wrist. The scent lingers, soft and sweet, a reminder of beauty, a promise of joy. You might see a woman preparing perfume, crushing petals, mixing oils, her hands stained with color, her face bright with anticipation, or a man anointing his hair before a festival, his eyes shining, his heart light. Clothing is repaired, not discarded. A tear is mended, a stain washed away, a patch added, a seam reinforced. There is pride in this. Care, a sense that nothing is wasted, that every thread matters, that every garment is a story of work, of love, of hope, a story that is worn and cherished and remembered on special days. The rituals of dress become more elaborate. A wedding, a festival, a visit to the temple. The finest linen is brought out, the brightest beads, the most fragrant oils. Faces are painted, hair is braided. There is laughter, excitement, a sense of anticipation, a sense that the world is full of possibility, that today is a day to be remembered, a day to be beautiful, a day to be seen. You might find as you watch, that your own heart is stirred, that you long to adorn yourself, to celebrate your own body, too. Honor your own spirit. It is a longing as old as time, a longing that binds us all, no matter the age, no matter the place. As the day unfolds, the rituals of dress and adornment continue. A child is praised for her new necklace. A young man is admired for his clean kilt. An elder is honored for the wisdom in his eyes. There is a sense that beauty is not just in the clothes, but in the way they are worn, in the way a person moves, in the way they smile, in the way they love. As the sun sets and the world is painted in the softest shades of rose and gold, the people of Egypt gather for the evening, their linen glowing in the fading light, their faces bright with pride, their hearts full of hope. It is a moment of peace, a moment of beauty, a moment when the world feels whole, and the self cherished. In the gentle darkness that follows, the memory of these rituals lingers, a memory that will carry each person through the night and into the promise of another day, a day filled with the quiet strength of pride, the enduring power of beauty, and the unbreakable bonds of self and spirit, a day that reminds us all that, in the end, it is not the richness of the garment, but the richness of the heart that makes life beautiful and worth living. As the long shadows of late afternoon stretch across the village and the heat of the day begins to soften, the people of ancient Egypt find themselves drawn to the gentle pleasures of leisure. It is a time when the work is done, the tools are set aside, and the world is filled with the soft music of laughter, of song, of quiet conversation. In this land, rest is not a luxury, but a necessity, a way of honoring the body, the spirit, and the bonds that hold the community together. It is a time to remember that life is not just a matter of survival, but a matter of joy, of celebration, of the small, everyday moments that make the heart light. You might see a group of children gathered beneath the shade of a sycamore, their voices bright, their faces flushed with excitement. They play games with pebbles and sticks. They chase each other through the dust. They invent stories, build kingdoms from sand. Their laughter rises and falls like birdsong, a reminder that joy is the birthright of every child, that play is a kind of magic, a way of learning, of growing, of belonging. You might notice the way the older children teach the younger, the way a game is paused to comfort a friend, the way every victory is celebrated, every loss softened by a gentle word. It is a lesson in kindness, a lesson in the quiet strength of community. Adults, too, find time for leisure. A group of women sit together, their hands busy with weaving or mending, their voices low and full of warmth. They share stories, sing songs. Their laughter is soft, but it carries, weaving through the air like a blessing. There is comfort in this gathering, a sense that every burden is lighter when shared, that every joy is sweeter when celebrated together. You might see a man carving a small figurine, his hands steady, his eyes bright with concentration, or a woman braiding her daughter's hair, her fingers gentle, her voice full of love. These are the moments when the world feels safe, when the heart is unburdened, when the spirit is free. Music is a special joy, the sound of a flute drifting on the evening breeze, the beat of a drum, the clap of hands, a song sung softly in the dusk. Music is everywhere in the fields, in the courtyards, in the temples. It is a way of marking time, a way of giving thanks, a way of lifting the heart. You might see a group of friends gathered around a fire, their voices rising in harmony, their faces glowing in the firelight, or a mother singing her child to sleep, her song a lullaby, a promise, a prayer. Music is a thread that binds the community, a thread that carries hope, that soothes sorrow, that celebrates life. Games are played by all ages. Senet, with its carved, board and painted pieces, a game of chance and strategy, a game that echoes the journey of the soul through the afterlife. There are dice made from bone, balls made from leather, hoops rolled with sticks. Every game is a lesson, a lesson in patience, in skill, in the art of losing gracefully. You might watch as two elders play a quiet game of Senate, their moves slow, their eyes sharp, their laughter soft, or as a group of children invent new rules, their imaginations boundless, their joy contagious. Festivals are a time of special celebration, a break from the routine, a chance to dress in bright colors, to eat sweet cakes and honey, to dance and sing. The whole village gathers. The air is filled with music, with the scent of roasting meat, with the laughter of children. Tables are laden with food. Offerings are made to the gods. Prayers are sung. It is a time when the boundaries between households dissolve, when the village becomes a single, living thing, breathing and singing and hoping together. You might find yourself swept up in the celebration, your heart lifted by the music, your spirit soothed by the sense of belonging. It is a reminder that joy is not just a matter of luck, but a matter of choice, a matter of community, a matter of love. Rest is honored, a nap in the heat of the day, a quiet moment beneath a tree, a pause to watch the river flow. These are not signs of laziness, but of wisdom, a recognition that the body needs rest, that the spirit needs peace, that the heart needs time to dream. You might see an elder sitting quietly, his eyes closed, his face peaceful, or a child curled up in the shade, her breath slow and even. These are the moments when the world feels whole, when the self is cherished, when the future is full of promise. As the sun sets and the world is painted in the softest shades of rose and gold, the people of Egypt gather for the evening, their faces bright, with joy, their hearts full of hope. It is a moment of peace, a moment of beauty, a moment when the world feels new and the self cherished. In the gentle darkness that follows, the memory of these rituals lingers, a memory that will carry each person through the night and into the promise of another day, a day filled with the quiet strength of joy, the enduring power of rest, and the unbreakable bonds of community and spirit. A day that reminds us all that, in the end, it is not the length of the day, but the lightness of the heart that makes life beautiful and worth living. As the last light of day slips away and the world is wrapped in the deep blue hush of evening, the village along the Nile grows quiet. The air is cool, touched by the scent of water and earth. The voices of the day have faded, replaced by the soft chorus of crickets, the distant call of a night bird, the gentle sigh of the river as it carries dreams downstream. It is a time for reflection, for memory, for the quiet wisdom that comes only when the world is still. In ancient Egypt, the end of the day is not a closing, but a gentle turning, a reminder that every ending is also a beginning, that the river flows on, carrying the stories of the past into the promise of tomorrow. You might find yourself sitting with the elders, their faces lined with sun and laughter, their eyes bright with memory. They speak softly, their voices weaving stories that stretch back through generations. Stories of floods and harvests, of love and loss, of hope and endurance. Each story is a thread in the great tapestry of life, a thread that binds the living to the dead, the present to the past, the heart to the land. You might notice the way the children listen, their eyes wide, their hearts open. They are the keepers of these stories now, the ones who will carry them forward, who will remember, who will dream. The rituals of memory are gentle, a name spoken at dusk, a lamp lit for an ancestor, loaf of bread set aside. These are not grand gestures, but quiet acts of love, acts that say, you are remembered, you are cherished, you are part of us still. In this world, to be remembered is to live forever. To be forgotten is the only true loss. You might find, as you watch, that your own heart aches with longing, a longing to be remembered, to leave a mark, to be part of something that endures. The passage of time is slow here, measured not in hours or days, but in the turning of the seasons, the rise and fall of the river, the growth of a child, the fading of a scar, There is a patience in this land, a willingness to wait, to trust that the river will rise, that the fields will bloom, that the sun will return. It is a patience born of hardship, of hope, of the quiet certainty that life, like the river, will always find a way. You might notice the way the people of Egypt honor the past, the way they care for the graves of their ancestors, the way they tell the old stories, the way they teach their children to remember. There is humility here, a recognition that every life is part of a greater whole, that every joy and every sorrow is shared, that every moment is a gift, a lesson, a chance to love, to hope, to endure. The end of the day is a time for gratitude, for the bread on the table, for the laughter of children, for the comfort of home, for the gentle flow of the river. You might find, as you sit among them, that your own heart grows quiet, that the worries of your own time seem smaller, that the simple act of being present, of listening, of remembering, is the greatest comfort of all. As the stars appear one by one, the village is wrapped in peace. The lamps are extinguished, the doors are closed. The world is held in the gentle embrace of night, but the memory of the day lingers, a memory that will carry each person through the darkness and into the promise of another dawn, a dawn filled with the quiet strength of hope, the enduring power of love, and the unbreakable bonds of memory and belonging. A dawn that reminds us all that, in the end, it is not the length of the journey, but the kindness of the heart that makes life beautiful and worth living. You might wonder, as you drift into sleep, why you would not last a day in this world. It is not the heat, or the work, or the hunger. It is the patience, the humility, the willingness to belong, the quiet courage to hope, to endure, to love. These are the lessons of the Nile, lessons that linger long after the river has flowed on, long after the world has changed, long after the story has ended. And so, as the night deepens and the world grows still, we leave the village to its dreams. We carry with us the memory of laughter, of kindness, of love, a memory that will light our own dreams and guide us gently into the next dawn, where new stories, new hopes, and new beginnings await, each one a thread in the ever-growing tapestry of this ancient, enduring world. Thank you for wandering with me through the quiet beauty of ancient Egypt. If you found comfort in these stories, if you felt the gentle pull of memory and hope, I invite you to share your own thoughts, your own dreams, your own memories in the Fenth. Comments below. Let us keep the story alive, together, and until we meet again, may your nights be peaceful, your dreams gentle, and your heart always open to the quiet wisdom of the past.